The body cam footage of Paul Pelosi, husband of Nancy Pelosi's attack by David DePape, who hit Paul Pelosi with a hammer in the head and was wanting to find Nancy Pelosi. That's why he went to their residence. Now, Nancy Pelosi wasn't there, as I'm sure you remember, but instead, David DePape brutally assaulted Paul Pelosi. And the body cam footage has now been released. And we're going to look at kind of the initial interaction between David DePape, Paul Pelosi, and the police officers when they arrived on the scene. I won't show you the actual hitting of the head, but we'll have a link in the description of this YouTube video if you do want to watch that part for yourself. I'll pause it right before. Not sure who of my audience actually wants to see that. But it's brutal. And we're going to look at that. But then we will also discuss the fact that the right wing used this story before the body cam footage was released, and some people even, in a sense, after, to have conspiracy theories, to cast doubt on the facts of the situation. And one of the stories we heard, as we'll talk about further in a second here, is, oh, they're trying to cover up the truth because it was actually a gay affair. Now, there was never any evidence for them knowing each other in the past, and they're trying to make it out to be just a relationship gone wrong rather than a politically motivated attack, which is what it was. And it was so enraging to watch the right wing twist this whole event in such a dishonest way. So first, take a look at this. This is when the police arrived on the scene.
Hi, how you doing?
How are you?
What's going on, man?
Everything's good.
Hi. Drop the hammer.
Nope. Hey.
And then I will pause it there. Again, link in the description if you do want to see the actual assault. Brutal stuff. And Paul Pelosi, he didn't do anything. He just, in his house late at night, and this guy breaks in, and then you hear, after being hit, Paul Pelosi on the ground groaning. At least that's what I made out. It's just horrifying. And let's go through a few more details that have been revealed about this before discussing the right wing's kind of the right wing discussion that needs to be had as well. This is from the 911 call from Paul Pelosi, and the dispatcher clearly didn't realize that Paul Pelosi was trying to signal that he was in danger without letting David DePape realize what he was doing, if that makes sense. Trying to stay calm for the intruder's sake so that the intruder didn't panic, but then still let the officer know, and you can just hear she's not picking up on it.
He thinks everything's good. I've got a problem, but he thinks everything's good.
Okay. Call us back if you change your mind.
No. This gentleman just came into the house, and he wants to wait here for my wife to come home. And so, anyway, he told me to put the phone down.
Do you know who the person is?
No, I don't know who he is. He has this. He's telling me not to. He's telling me not to do anything.
What is your address, sir?
26.
2:25 and 0.
What is your name?
Seconds.
My name is Paul Pelosi.
Friday.
Anyway, this gentleman says that he thinks everything ought to, he's telling me to put the phone down and just do what he says.
18 seconds.
Okay?
Okay, what's the gentleman's name?
I don't know. What's that?
My name's David.
The name is David.
Okay, and who is David?
I don't know. What's that?
I'm a friend of theirs.
Yeah, he says he's a friend, but as I say, I've never.
But you don't know who he is?
No, ma'am.
And then eventually Paul Pelosi says he's wanting me to get off the call. So you can hear there, David DePape goes, I might have been calling DePape, it's DePape, I guess, but goes, oh, I'm a friend of his. Because this deranged individual is trying to not panic 911. Paul Pelosi is trying to tell 911 what's going on without panicking David DePape. And so that moment, there was some reporting about how they referred to one another as friends, and that's where the right wing spun off in saying, oh, they're trying to tell us that this was a politically motivated thing. David DePape being a wild right wing conspiracy theorist, attacking Paul Pelosi, trying to get Nancy Pelosi. But that's not the actual story. They were friends. This is something else is going on there. That's not what was going on. Paul Pelosi was being so intelligent and wise in this situation to try to keep David DePape calm, while letting the dispatcher know that he's in trouble so that hopefully the person with the weapon doesn't end up hurting him, which he did. And so close to being able to get out of that safely because of his wisdom in that situation. The police got there, as you saw in the footage, without Paul Pelosi being attacked, and then he got attacked. The police weren't able to prevent it in that situation. So I'll tell you, both prepping today for the show with the Tyree Nichols story and this story and the way that the right wing dishonestly responded to it, it's been a long time since I've been this angry, uncontrollably preparing for a show. And it is just really, really vile. A little bit more just details about this before we discuss further. Here's surveillance footage from outside the house when David DePape is breaking in.
Have our first look at the video on the attack of Paul Pelosi, husband of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Look at this. Now, remember I told you that there were going to be things other than the police body cam that would be released. This is the surveillance video outside the home, and that is the suspect, DePape. And you see him, he put some items down, you see him breaking some glass, and the fragments of glass that are breaking now. Emily, talk to me about this as evidence in the case.
Well, so keep in mind that this...
So breaking into the home, and then you saw how it concluded. I cannot imagine the fear on the part of Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi. Hopefully he's recovering okay. And it really does make me so angry because it is the rhetoric from the far right that led David DePape. He's responsible for his own actions, but him being caught up in that is the reason he did that. So as you remember, what did we see in response to the original story about this from the right wing? Well, you had Don Jr. responding on Twitter to someone who said, got my Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready, and it was a pair of underwear and a hammer. And Don Jr. said, the internet remains undefeated. Also, if you switch out the hammer for a red feather, Bo, you could be Hunter Biden in an instant. And making fun of the fact that that took place, laughing at it. Really makes my blood boil. And then I'll show you kind of a compilation of a few different right-wing individuals responding to this story before the footage came out.
That somehow there was no security at the Speaker of the House's home on Friday night? That doesn't make sense at all. What does that mean? Like, how could you explain that? Maybe there's a good explanation. I'm not alleging anything. Why should the rest of us sit here and accept obvious inconsistencies in a story that has public policy implications and not say anything? Maybe we're in the habit of just accepting the most ludicrous possible claims and moving on to the next thing. It feels like where we are.
Why is the conservative movement to blame for gay schizophrenic nudists that are hemp jewelry makers breaking into somebody's home, or maybe not breaking into somebody's home? Why are we to blame for that exactly? If some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like 30 or 40.
Now, I will say, they cut it off there. He's saying go bail the guy out because they want to ask him questions about what was really going on. So, just as horrible, but just so you know, he's not saying bail out because he's a hero. He's saying bail out because we want to know the true story. The true story is the one that we knew pretty quickly after this news broke. And we'll look at some more information about David DePape, I don't know why I can't say that correctly, that further reveals how much he was bought into these right-wing lies.
Of new edited version of the facts that we're now getting. It looks to me like this is a cover-up job and that the San Francisco police, so sort of, let's call it, Pelosi's militia, are covering up for the most influential family in San Francisco, namely the Pelosis. They release facts, and the facts are very incriminating toward Pelosi.
Okay, you get the point. So Paul Pelosi gets his head bashed in with a hammer because a deranged individual who bought into right-wing lies is trying to follow through on this deranged sense of watering the tree of liberty with the blood of patriots, as you'll hear him allude to in a second in a clip I'm going to show you. And now we're going after Nancy Pelosi's militia and talking about how somehow there's a story being covered up here. Well, more information came out about it, and it wasn't a cover-up. It was the initial story. And none of these individuals are going to apologize. And none of their audiences are going to recognize, oh, maybe I've been lied to. Maybe this person is not honest in what they tell me, because while they were off about this, while they used the suffering of someone to make a couple extra bucks with viewership and rouse up a lot of their audience, it is disgusting. I'm so sick of it. And then even after this footage comes out, people such as this Fox News correspondent just can't help themselves and won't prepare for the show, apparently, so that they can still spread lies. Take a look.
Yeah. No, the other issue is look, where is the evidence of a breaking and entering? I get what you're saying, Sandra, about always casing the area.
There's video of him breaking through the house. There's video of him
breaking through the house.
Okay, it's on the screen right now.
Okay.
No, and I assume it's with the hammer that you later see him with. But there's clear video that we have been given outside of the house, the attackers on the right side of the screen breaking through the house.
Got it. Well, okay, great. Then maybe that's true.
He's clearly using that to break in.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, but what can't we talk more about what is the DOJ doing? Are we supposed to just give a hall pass on such an important fact that to me, I think there was a clear narrative that the DOJ wanted to
What is he talking about? Did you hear there was multiple people talking at one point, but this Fox News commentator Brian Claypool, he goes, maybe that's true. Okay, fine, because the video's on screen of David DePape breaking into the Pelosi household. And he goes, okay, maybe that's true. Not maybe, it is true. You're watching it on screen. It was a break-in. What else would you call someone shattering a window to get into a home to assault somebody? And then starts going, okay, yeah, well, maybe that might be true, but we need to talk about, no, what you need to really be talking about is the role that networks like Fox News, like yourself, and like the right wing as a whole in the media world that exists, and the far right, it's not the whole right wing, of course, but the radical right that we're talking about here, the role they've played in what we saw here. One more example of after the fact bad responses to this. We might actually have a couple more, but Glenn Beck saying, okay, yeah, the conspiracy theories about this weren't true, but it's partly because we didn't get enough answers up front about this.
Toward his attacker, and that's what NBC News said, that he was backing up towards his attacker. No, he wasn't. He was backing up away from the front door to get away from his attacker. And I don't think I've seen something this brutal in a long time. I did not expect.
So this is correct analysis. And then watch where it goes.
Expect it to be as brutal as it was. Why allow things to go on and ferment? Why do that? When you have such a clear open and shut case like this, if they would have released this within 24 hours, which, they'll release body cam footage of George Floyd immediately. Anything our cops do wrong, immediate release. Why wasn't this released, especially when it could cause such danger and conspiracy theories?
So he said that the George Floyd body cam footage came out immediately. Videos that citizens had taken came out immediately. It took 11 weeks nearly for the George Floyd body cam footage to come out. The reason is in all of these situations, there's just a process that is gone through before footage is released to the public. Now you can say, I want that to be faster. You can say everything should be released. You can make an argument you want to make, but acting like there was some sign of a cover up here because the footage wasn't immediately released is completely incorrect analysis. There are so many reasons that you might want to keep that footage private. And because it's putting to rest all these conspiracy theories, I'm glad that now we have the footage that absolutely is right in line with the initial story that was reported on. But it's so enraging to watch people who are a part of a media ecosystem that spreads lies about this event and conspiracy theories about this event, and then when they're proven wrong, turn around and go, well, it's kind of their fault that they didn't immediately give us the answers we wanted. Or you could be introspective and say, maybe I don't need to make a conspiracy theory about every single thing that happens without any evidence. Wait until you have evidence of a cover-up, evidence of some part of the story being different than the initial narrative, and then put that out to a bunch of people. But there wasn't evidence of that, so you shouldn't have been going there. It's not the fault of whoever, the police or whoever they might blame. Okay. Further proof that this individual is motivated by right-wing, far-right beliefs. And again, I always want to specify, I'm not overgeneralizing. Much of the right doesn't subscribe to a lot of this, but the far right, the radical right, much of the right-wing ecosystem, media ecosystem, 100% the largest right-wing commentator, Tucker Carlson, absolutely play a part in all this. Take a look at this call that David DePape did to a news station talking about why he did this attack and saying he wishes he hadn't done more. He wishes he had done more.
What do you want to say? Because as you know, they released the video earlier today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes. What did you want? Thank you for calling me. What did you want to tell me?
Now that you all have seen the body cam footage, I have an important message for everyone in America. You're welcome. Freedom of liberty isn't dying. It's being killed, systematically and deliberately. The people killing it have names and addresses. So I got their names and addresses so I could pay them a little visit and have a heart-to-heart chat about their bad behavior. The tree of liberty needs watering. You need men of valor, patriots willing to put their own lives on the line to stand in opposition to tyranny. I would also like to apologize. I want to apologize to everyone. I messed up. What I did was really bad. I'm so sorry. I didn't get more of them. It's my own fault.
So you're hearing, I know it's kind of hard to hear maybe for our podcast listeners, but talking about the tree of liberty, deriving from the quote of the tree of liberty has to be watered with the blood of patriots or something of that nature, saying he apologizes for not getting more of them, as in more leaders, Democratic leaders, I assume, and just so vile. And he said tyranny, kind of going after people who are pushing tyranny. Where have we heard our government's becoming tyrannical? And then often right next to that, what is the Second Amendment for? To fight a tyrannical government. It's a very lightly veiled, thinly veiled call to action from many of the conservative politicians. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying the punishment for treason is death, and Nancy Pelosi is guilty of treason. Marjorie Greene very openly calling for those threats. And then we see them, and there's no accountability. There's no recognition of the roles that these individuals have played. And it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad.